Hi, I'm Romy.
And I'm Nicole.
We are two businesswomen, two colleagues, two friends who had an idea and decided to do something with it. Over the past 2 years, we've built the Daily Drip, a media platform and community for the modern South Florida businesswoman.
From Palm Beach to South Beach, we've built an audience of thousands of local business owners, CEOs, founders, executives, and more. And we did it 100% organically.
Whether it's through our blog, weekly newsletter, social media, events, or even this podcast, our mission is to offer a daily drop of inspiration as you pursue your dreams.
People ask us all the time how we did it and why we did it. Join us as we bring you along our journey and the journeys of so many other incredible local businesswomen here on Her Pursuit. Hi, and welcome back to Her Pursuit. I'm your host, Nicole Mastrangelo, co-founder of The Daily Drip, and I'm here today with three of the best thought leaders we have on our team, and we're here to talk about a lot of stuff. So I'm here with Melia Arnett. Or did I flip it around? Doesn't even matter. All right, I'm here with Maria Smith and Tiffany Dhooge. So thanks, guys, for joining me today because I wanted to have a good conversation about something that I learned myself over the last almost 3 years of the Daily Drip, building this entity and all the lessons learned. And I think probably one of the biggest lessons I've learned deeper was the lesson of self-awareness. Right. And we hear a lot about this. This is very trending right now, right? Self-awareness and being aware of your motivators and your fears and your triggers. And if you really want to level up your self-awareness, know why. Why are you afraid of those things? Why are you motivated by those things? Why are you triggered by those things? And it's kind of cool when you get to a point in that practice of being able to see yourself kind of react to things. And in your head, you're saying, oh, there I go again. Or, oh, hold on, let me see. But I think as a business owner, that skill has really helped me. Like, I feel like I've used self-awareness and leaned on it a lot in some of the decisions I've had to make, some of the points I've been stuck at. And so I'm just curious, and I wanted to know because I know you guys have all been on similar career and business journeys, and I wanted to know, how would you rate your self-awareness before getting into your business versus now? Because I'd definitely give myself a level up. Like, I think I've 10x. What would you say?
You know, I'm just naturally a very self-aware person, almost to a detriment, where I'm so self-aware of the things that I'm not good at that I tend to be hyper-focused on those things. And that was when I was in corporate and now even in entrepreneurship. So I'm pretty high on a scale of 1 to 10. I'm definitely about an 8 or a 9 just because of my makeup. And so self-aware that I know that being so self-aware is detrimental to my success.
Would you say you're more self-aware of the things you're not good at versus the things you are? Like, are you more kind of coming into your own as far as your strengths?
Yeah, I think so. The difference between where I was in corporate and where I am now in entrepreneurship with respect to my self-awareness is I think I was hyper-focused on the negative. I think the environment of the corporate atmosphere sort of helped me focus more negatively on who I was and how I was presenting. And so, it was working with that fear of, executive presence or lack thereof, or, global team leadership and, how I was interacting with my team negatively versus the positive things that I was bringing to my role. Entrepreneurship requires that I focus and be more self-aware of the great things that I bring to the table and lean into them because I'm all I got. You know what I mean? Right. And so I've had to make that shift in my self-awareness. It's high still, but more focused on, all right, Melia, you can do this, and this is why. You've proven this out in corporate, right? That you're going to show up, that you're going to get things done, that you're going to reach out to the people that you need to reach out to and get the help you need. Focus there. Those are your strengths. You have to lean into those.
It's interesting you bring up corporate because I grew up in corporate and I went through a lot of like leadership assessments and corporate analysis. And I always scored really high in area of accuracy, where like my perfectionism is literally like trackable, right? And so it was always an issue in corporate, but it was never as big of an issue as it could be when you're running your business. It could be the thing that is like causing you failure to launch. You can get stuck very easily. You could really get down on yourself when things don't go well. But it's interesting how like those days and those times, they're still there. They just show up differently, kind of when you're on your own and you're all you have. What would you say, Maria?
I would say that when, I started my leadership journey at 29, and when I reflect back on that, I know now that I wasn't prepared to step into that role because I came from an environment that I could control. I was on my own, managing a market, so my success level was dependent on me only. So to your point about the perfectionism, I could control my environment because I could control my own actions. But when you start leading other people, you realize it's a whole different ballgame. And so now my self-awareness level needed to be heightened, but yet I wasn't given really any adequate training or how to do that. I just knew what worked for me. And I thought, well, I'm going to apply this process to everyone else. I was very process driven, just it was a little misguided. And so now I'm assuming and making gross assumptions that everyone who is on my team just works the same way I do. Everyone loves to stay up till, 1 o'clock in the morning sending emails, or everyone enjoys, working till 7 o'clock at night and then rushing to family dinner and then going right back to work, because that's what I did, because I saw success doing that and pouring into my work. I saw the results. So my self-awareness level was everything that I had around me. So once I stepped outside of that and truly started doing some deep self-reflection and understanding that this isn't just about me, this is about building a team of people who build to the greater, result, and that everyone needs to be and wants to be led differently, then things started to change.
And then you were really perfectionist about how you led each and every one of those people, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I would say that, at that time, and even as I moved through that process of leadership and building and pouring into books and trying things different ways and being open to failing, being open to trying something and it not working.
Being okay with their failure too.
Yes.
Because that perfectionism will really, when you have that innate, it must be perfect. It must be exactly so before we can release it. And then you have to lead a group of people being okay with the fact that they are going to fail. And that's okay. You can, if it's all about you, you can only take the organization to the level of one, which is not high enough. You have got to pour into and develop your people, and then you can take the organization to the level of many, to their capacity as well. But in so doing, they're going to mess up, and that's going to reflect on you, and you can't have a stroke about it every single time. Like learning and I don't want to say mastering, because I certainly hasn't mastered it, but what a struggle that was as far as self-awareness was concerned. Was in the beginning, when you first start, I was not okay with anyone messing up at all. Like, this is not the way it's supposed to be, and you must do it this way. And trying to overcome that and develop as a leader while you're leading was quite the journey.
And I think being open to accepting that feedback from other people to say, I love you enough and I want you to be a great leader. So therefore, accept my feedback because I'm trying to help you. I see all the great things that you're capable of doing. So I want you to succeed just as much as, as the next leader that I would, train. But pour into yourself, also allow me to like mentor, guide you, etc. But I think accepting that, because it's hard to hear. No one likes to hear that they're doing something wrong. No one likes to hear that they're making a mistake or they're not leading to the best of their ability. But it takes a lot of self-awareness to accept that. It takes a lot of reflection and just a kind of a deep knowing that if you really take the time, you reason and reckon with yourself and you say, you know what, this isn't working. And I know it, but sometimes we're afraid to stop that behavior because we're afraid of what's going to happen next or change. Right.
Change is scary.
What if I fail at the next thing,
And it's uncomfortable. You're so used to operating a certain way that the very idea of operating any other way is foreign. It's uncomfortable. It's like, where do I put my hands? I don't know what I'm doing. It's like I am not built this way, But it's interesting you say that because, like I said, when I came from corporate and I had my assessments and evaluations, perfectionism was always coached in the context of leadership. How is my affinity to wanting accuracy and perfection affecting my team, affecting our team results? Fast forward, I launched the Daily Drip, and it's just me. And then Romy comes along, and it's me and Romy, right? And it's like, okay, how is my perfectionism affecting us from moving forward, right? Am I holding on to an initiative in development mode too long, right? Is it too long now? And that's where I would say I caught myself questioning it. And it was the first time I looked at my perfectionism in a whole new context. And it was that level of self-awareness, thank God, that I had going into it, being aware of this is like a tendency of mine, that there we are creating the Daily Drip just in general. Okay, so we want to have a thought leadership platform, right? I could have held on to the launch of that for decades, quite literally, right? And I could have hung on to the launch of the thought leadership program for another 10 years, right? I could have just kept holding on to it. And there was something very liberating for me as a, crazy perfectionist in saying, you know what? It is done for now. Like right now at this stage, what we need to do to move forward or to take a step, it's done for now. And I'm releasing it out into the world because I want to see how they react so that I can begin to iterate 2.0 and 3.0. And I literally had to train my thoughts to think of things in that way, where I had to tell myself I am building phase 1. How do I know when phase 1 is done? What are the signs, or what do I need to accomplish for phase 1, right? And then I put it out there, and I am so looking for feedback. I want to know what people don't really love, and I want to know what their favorite thing is. I don't think the Daily Drip would be what it is today if I didn't have that level of self-awareness and I didn't work through my perfectionism, because I don't think we would have ever done much, and then I don't think we would have ever evolved in the direction. I say this all the time, is where Romy and I started and where we are today is 180 degrees. It is not at all what we originally envisioned. Had I held on to it and tinkered and tinkered and tinkered and then released it, I could have wasted all that time building something in the completely wrong direction.
And do you feel like Romy's presence pushed you to launch when you would have, if you had just been alone, you would have held on to it forever? But the dynamic of your personalities, do you feel like that had anything to do with your ability to, okay, take a big breath, let's do this?
It's funny because Romy and I are very similar in that way. So it was actually not that we complement each other, but we do. We complement each other in many ways. But in that area, it was kind of like I could see very easily how, had I not had the journey I had before the Daily Drip, had I not gone in knowing that about myself, she and I could have gone into the mole hole and stayed there, because she, God love her, trusts me implicitly with the innovation aspect of what we're doing. And she contributes great ideas and great perspectives. And here's what I'm seeing and hearing in the field, in the community. Did you see that community? Did you see that organization? So she's contributing things, but she implicitly trusts me to iterate, right? And so had I had a failure to launch, it would have impacted Romy, because she would have been saying, okay, we're not ready. Nicole doesn't think we're ready yet. And then that would have impacted her. And then that would have impacted everything. So I think it's just interesting to see how some people just are not self-aware at all. Yeah. Like, and you can spot them from a mile away, right? They're not even aware that self-awareness is a thing, right? Yeah. And then there's some people that are just scratching the surface. And then there are other people who are so miserable because they're in the weeds with their self-awareness. And then there's the ones who have come out the other side and they see the light again, right? And so I'd like to think I kind of went through all those stages before the Daily Drip. So I kind of thought there was nothing left to uncover. And yet there really was so much left. It's seeing all of your motivators, your fears, and your triggers in new contexts.
As we change, there's a different mirror that's showing us a different side of what we think we're aware of. What I'd like to say is there's balconies and basements to every part of us, right? Like for me, so when I was in corporate and we would do those assessments, focus was number one for me, which is great. Like I can focus, I can get things done. That's the balcony, right? On the high end, I'm going to get it done. Right. On the low end, I'm so hyper-focused that I miss the bigger picture sometimes because I'm so focused, right? Like I can be in the car with my husband and he's talking to me, and if I'm sending an email, I don't even hear it. Like there's not even a sound because I'm so hyper focused. I'm missing it. I'm missing the journey because of the thing. And so I think as we're learning about the different mirrors that are showing and reflecting us, it's important to respond to that. And to your point, it's like putting it out there so you can have those people be mirrors, or organizations be mirrors, situations be mirrors, and getting that feedback and adjusting.
They say all the time the business is a reflection of the owner. And it really is so true. If you are spontaneous, if you chase shiny objects, if you are kind of like a big picture thinker, it shows in all departments. Like you can just see it. And if you're hyper focused, your books are immaculate, right? They're tabbed. They are color coded and highlighted, and all the nitty gritty is well organized, but you know, the flow of activity is a mess, or the marketing is a mess, or all these things. It really is interesting how this all comes at you and then what you do with it, right? So like you got that mirror in front of you and now you're seeing something. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to take it and run with it because you don't have a manager or a coach in some cases to help your personal development, help you when you're at the top or when you're in your own business? There's no one above you that you're reporting to.
There's no Hooked on Phonics book.
No. So you're kind of really in charge of your own.
And I would even argue that even in a corporate environment, as much as we like to think that we provide those, or that corporations provide those opportunities for team members, they don't. You hit the ground running. You're hired, which is great in one way, because oftentimes you're hired because they see your success, or they see that you're the potential, the person who could be motivated to go do the job. So then they give it to you to say, okay, I trust you enough to do the job. But it's like, whoa. It's not that you're saying that you're not capable, but you also, if you're truly self-aware, then you're also the type of person that says, but I need guidance. I still need to be coached and developed, and I still need resources. I still need things, to help me along in that journey. And I think about that every day in my business. I think that's why when I left to become an entrepreneur, all of my assessments were very much related to energy, like high energy, like impeccable. I know.
Maria's never not smiling. If you don't know Maria, go follow her, hit our episode notes. She's smiling every day in every post, and it's a beautiful smile. We should all be so happy.
Hilarious that then the one that I chose for my headshot is the one that I'm not.
It's funny you said that, because when I saw the headshot that you got a beautiful suite of headshots by Daniel Wakefield, top tier headshots. And one was better than the next. And then when I saw the profile picture you chose, there was one out of the whole suite where you weren't smiling, and that was the one you picked. And I was like, who is this girl?
Like I had a whole conversation with myself, like, why would she choose this? But I think I know this isn't our topic, there is strength. Okay, you have this particular brand, but what that profile image does is really shine a light on the depth of who she is. Yes. And so then, because you're going to get this all the time, right. You're going to get that dose of sunshine every time that you see her. But that image really shows there's a quality and depth to it that challenge you to think, wow, there is something more to this woman. And so I like that. I like all the photographs, but I get it.
That is about being self-aware, right? And I'll let you speak to why you chose that photo if you want to, but I think that's a part of it. And all that we do is recognizing how we're showing up in the world and how we're being perceived by others.
But you can only know that if you ask or if you listen to the feedback. You can only know how you're being perceived if you're aware enough and looking for that feedback.
That's a real challenge in my chair, is that what I don't think people realize is that when you rise through the levels, when you're leading a team, you get to this one point where people stop telling you the truth. People start telling you what they think you want to hear so that they can be within your grace. But very few people will show up in your office and say, I know you're going to disagree with this, and that's okay. But this is what I'm seeing, and please consider this before you make a decision. Very few people will disagree with you. Very few will hold that mirror up to your face. And if you can find somebody who will hold a mirror up to you and say, look at yourself in this moment and give that gift to you, you can only be stronger. You can only be better as a leader if you can find that person. It is truly a gift, but people just stop being real with you.
Because they're self-aware that it may not be perceived by management and they want their jobs, right? You know what I mean? And so I think there's a balance there between, especially in a professional environment where we have teams, that we make our teams feel comfortable challenging us, right? And that's a place of vulnerability. Am I saying that right? That we don't allow ourselves to go too often because it is exposing. But if we really want to grow, which, I think everyone at this table, certainly we're open to that. But challenging the people around us, we hear our friends, our girlfriends talk, be challenged by that, right? Like not necessarily the messenger, but what's the message? What is it saying about how you're being perceived in the workplace, in your company, and grow from it?
And I think that's because there's a lot of pride and ego attached to those two things. So in a corporation, in a corporate setting, you ask for feedback, but I often felt, did they really want it? I'm asking because I feel this is a check the box. I need to ask you for this feedback. But what I'm really saying is, don't test me because we put this together. We designed this program, or, it came down from the ivory tower, and we are now telling you this is what you're going to say. This is what you're going to do. This is how we're going to roll this out. So I have been a part of conversations where people had been post a meeting or post, them sharing that feedback, almost the annoyance that they would share their opinion, but you asked for it. Right. So why would you then, kind of behind their back almost, and then it becomes, oh gosh, if I'm witnessing these conversations as a leader, so now when I have an opportunity to speak up to my next level leadership, am I going to voice my opinion? Nope. Because I don't want to be called that person. I don't want to be the inconvenient, opinion. I am just going to keep doing what I do. And
The Inconvenient Opinion, that's a book. Yeah. That's a book, The Inconvenient Opinion. Let's do it. Boom.
We're getting jobs done here. We're podcasting. We're getting books written. We've got all kinds of things. So now I have a question, and I'm going to end this conversation around this question because I feel like it's going to take us far. But knowing now what you know about yourself, Melia, you're a year in. How far in are you?
You're about a year and a half.
About a year and a half in, Maria. Tiffany, you said you were a baby when you started in your
Well,
career.
I started in the field. I was 24. At this point, I've been 6 full years, entering my 7th year in this position.
As a CEO. So does it get easier? Like how much would you say you trust yourself? Knowing what your fears are, your motivators are, your triggers
In what
are.
context?
Well, in any context. I guess in your most severe context, when you close your eyes and you think about all the things that have been reflected back to you over your 6 years in the C-suite, year and a half, year in business for me, 3 years in business. When you look at what is reflecting back at you and you think about all the decisions that you have to make or that you don't make, why we don't make them, how do you gauge the level of trust you have in yourself now?
I think for me, it depends on what we're talking about. Like, I trust myself to show up. I trust myself not to quit. I think some of the areas where I'm still learning to trust myself is in the areas where I'm not naturally strong on sort of the business side, my numbers, right? Like, I'm learning to care more about what the data is telling me, and not just the emotional side of entrepreneurship, right? I'm really good at that. Like, I'm really good at harnessing in the emotions, the fear that would, cause failure to launch and things like that. But the more technical things that I've learned over the last year, I'm still growing in. Like, I would still say I'm like a baby giraffe and I'm finding my legs. You know what I mean? And I think that's okay, right? As long as I'm challenging myself to keep going there, to keep reaching out. And that's another thing is I'm recognizing on this journey to continue to grow and walk in the truth of what I'm seeing about myself, what I'm learning I'm being perceived as, is to do something with it. And that means being vulnerable enough to share with you. Like, we were talking about an event earlier. What does this look like? Maybe we need to flex. Have you thought about this? It's a challenge in maybe the way I would have approached something, but I'm willing to take the feedback because I know I cannot be successful in a vacuum. And I would love to decline
That
that.
is the line of the century to anybody out there thinking about starting a business or in the weeds in your first year, 2 years, 3 years, or even in your first season in a new part of your career. You cannot grow in a vacuum. It's just impossible.
You'll choke out in a vacuum.
My word of the year is trust. So when we were talking about this, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I did that. I specifically reflected on why I wanted this word. Interestingly enough, typically my word of the year comes to me around like July of the year prior, and then it kind of starts to materialize and kind of form. This year, I was struggling. I was struggling with what word do I want to really epitomize the year that I want to have. And it came to me in a dream, to be completely transparent. I dreamt it because I think in that moment, it was everything probably from my subconscious coming forward to say, you have to trust the process you designed. You designed this incredible process, but sometimes you even second guess the process that you built that has proven results, that has proven to help people. I have had so many people through corporations, through individual clients, through startups that have said, oh my goodness, applying your process gave me the clarity I needed to move forward. And yet I still sit back and say, but was there something maybe else that I missed? How could I have even gotten better? But sometimes I just need to trust that I've got this. Like I did this, and it's continuing to prove to be successful. I also need to just trust myself, those self-limiting beliefs or doubts that can overcome us or cloud our judgment, that if we were telling someone else, we would say the complete opposite. Correct. I would look to you and say, Nicole, you are absolutely fabulous. You've got this. You know what you're talking about. Yes. You're going to crush this. But then I would look at myself in the mirror and be like, oh, I don't know. Yeah.
You are not
I'm
enough.
not enough. And so to your point about collaboration and partnerships, for me, that's really where I build that trust in myself, is being anchored by strong, powerful, engaged women like yourself who are on the same path, who we provide like that buoy system for each other. You know, it's like, okay, when you're a little bit down, I'm going to lift you back up, and we're going to balance each other out so that we can build this out together. I realize when I am on that island and I'm in that vacuum, that's when I have to literally step away from the computer, literally physically get out of my home, go plan a coffee date or something to where I can step out of that to really build back that trust and that knowing that I've got this, that sometimes those external things can cloud my judgment.
What about you? Do you trust yourself?
Getting in my seat. I'm like buckling into my, be vulnerable for a moment. So the I am not enough concept, because, that's the trendy little I am not enough. I've said this before to you. There has not been a single day where I have come into the office in 6 full years where I have thought to myself, I got this. I am enough for this position. I live in a state of imposter syndrome, the I am not enough. One of the greatest lessons that I have learned is that's okay. We're all striving. I am enough. I got this. I'm fierce. It is okay to say to yourself, to have that gut level moment and to say, I am not enough in this specific area. It's equally as important to know your strengths is vital so that you can lean into them. But it is equally as important to have that gut level honesty, that conversation with yourself where you say, these are my weaknesses. And I know that weakness is not a very trendy word. You have to, the areas that I need to develop in.
Your areas of opportunity.
The areas of opportunity. But as a leader, you have a responsibility to your people to also identify those areas that you need to develop in, and then to surround yourself with people that can fill that gap. For the good of the greater whole, you must be honest with yourself enough to say, I am not enough in this area, and fill those gaps, and then make peace with that. No one is enough in every area. No one.
Can I ask you, where do you feel you're not enough?
I thought we had a limited amount of time.
No.
You know what? I'll give you a fun one.
From the outside, and I see not what you see. Like to what Maria said, when I hear you talk about you, I'm like, who is this person? Because I don't know her. But so I'm curious, like, in what setting or in what context are you the most feeling not enough?
I can give you a fun one and I can give you a technical one. So I'll go with a fun one. I really do have a crippling social anxiety, which a lot of people push back. Like they'll say, oh, that's not true. There's a difference between performing and connecting. And in my life, I have learned to adapt as an introvert, to show up in situations like this. If you put me in a networking situation, I do not have my anxiety is so crippling that I don't even get past, hi, I'm Tiffany. I cannot fill the space with words. I cannot think of the next thing to say. It just paralyzes me. I will sit in a parking lot for 20 minutes and talk myself into walking into the room. So thus, filling that gap area, I found the most social, the most endearing professional that I could find in this community. People just gravitate to him. They just love him. Everybody loves Chafin. And then I had to be, I hate to say strong because it feels so, but that is such a huge trust to identify that person and say, this is my gap area, and the organization deserves. We have to be out there. We have to make relationships. We have to be present in groups. And I don't have that capacity right now. So bringing him in was me admitting to myself that I'm not enough in this area, but he is. He is, and the organization will thrive because of his strengths, and together we will partner, and that trust was vital to getting the organization to the next level. So that's like a fun one. Technically, I can work my way around the finance committee, and I can handle the finance sheets, but I'm not a CPA. I'm not an expert in tax law. Like, don't ask me any of your tax questions. You're going to be sorry you did. So making sure that the board is full of experts in that area that can guide me and say, hey, no, you shouldn't do that, is like a boring one.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because I know that there are people who are going to say, yep, that's me. Or it's good to know that somebody in the C-suite is feeling this way because I feel so far away from that level. And I think I have to fix this to get there. And so thank you for sharing that. But I think this was all really good conversation about just the journey of self-awareness. It just continues in business, definitely. But I thank you all for being so candid, sharing so much with everyone, because what we're going to talk about in the next episode is some of the things we can do to boost and strengthen our mindset. Because we can be self-aware, we can know what our strengths are, our areas of opportunity are, right? We can know what all these things are. We can see them when they show up. But to your point, Maria, there are still moments where it can cripple us. And Tiffany, as you said, cripple us, right? And so next episode, we're going to talk about some of the things we all do, some of the things you can do in those moments to build up your mindset. So we'll see you all on the next episode of Her Pursuit.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Her Pursuit. You can catch a new episode every other Wednesday. Please don't forget to subscribe or follow so that you don't miss out on any of the good stuff.
We love bringing you free content and value to help inspire and motivate you. So if you enjoyed this episode, throw us a thumbs up, leave us a rating, a review, and send this to a friend who you think would enjoy it. Your support is so important to us, and we wouldn't be able to do any of this without you. So thanks for listening. Talk to you in 2 weeks.